So you're interested in the Piper PA-28 and you're wondering which one is for you, or at least what is the blasted differences between all of them, because yep, there are a lot of different variations over the years. The PA-28 has been super successful since it was introduced in the 1960s. So if you don't know your Piper Archers, from your Piper Arrows to your Pathfinders to your Warriors to your Dakotas, then stick with me, let's clear all of this up. I'm going to go over the performance and price of current PA-28s, and then we'll have a look at the older variations and the costs at the end. So we all know a Piper PA-28 is an unpressurized single-engine low-wing aircraft with tricycle landing gear, popular for flight training of course, air taxiing and personal use. You might have trained in a PA-28 and maybe you want to know more about the model that you've spent so much time in and so many emotions in. One quirk of them, they have a single door on the right hand side, which is not great for everybody getting out should they need to quickly, but that design probably gives some strength to the fuselage. So let's take a look at the new ones first, before we get into the very complex history of them. They come in two categories, personal aircraft and trainer aircraft. Starting with the Archer LX, this is a 4-seat, 180 horsepower, fixed prop variant capable of 128 knots and 522 nautical miles range. The Archer DLX is also a 4-seat, but no, the D does not stand for deluxe, but diesel. It has a Continental CD155 diesel engine of 155 horsepower and a 3-blade constant speed propeller. The CD155 engine is interesting because it runs on both jet fuel and diesel, DINEN 590, and accepts any combination of the two according to their website. I've put a link to the engine's website below if you want to read more about that. The engine does increase its range significantly to 848 nautical miles, but slightly reduces the maximum speed to 123 knots. The estimated operating costs for this model are around $11,800 fixed cost per year and $165 per hour according to this cost estimation sheet that I've got in the link below this video. Piper offer the same variations with the same performance as trainer aircraft. So we have the Piper TX, which costs around $425,000 new, and the Archer DX with that CD155 diesel engine, which is going to cost around $485,000. And then there's also the smaller Pilot P-100i with a 3-seat configuration arrangement, which costs around $349,000. Okay, so that's it for current PA-28s. More information on them on the Piper website, of course. Right, now it's time to look at the older PA-28s and clear up some of that confusion around naming. First up, we have the Piper Cherokee, produced in 1961 with 150 and 160 horsepower Lycoming 0320 engines. So they named them the PA-28 150 and PA-28 160 respectively. Easy peasy so far, right? Then they upped the power with a 180 version, making it more practical to make use of those 4 seats with 4 adults, so you could take your 3 buddies with you. The 180 also has an extra window, giving it a more modern look. In 1973, Piper made more changes and rebranded, turning the 180 into the Archer. But they first spent a year transitioning their planes and named those transition planes Challengers, which had a wing increase for a wider wing. The next year, in 1974, they increased the fuselage length, and then the Challenger became the Archer. So in the early years, before the Challenger and the Archer, the PA-28 150 and 160 were such a success that Piper expanded the range to include a 235 horsepower variation, and they called that one the Charger, to compete with the ever-popular Cessna 182 Skylane. Fuel capacity was increased, as was the stabilator area, and it got stretched out so that the people in the back had more legroom. Just to add more confusion though, they changed the name from Charger to Pathfinder until they finished production of the Pathfinders in 1977. In 1972, the first Dakota was certified, which is essentially a Pathfinder with the tapered wing. Then they brought in the lower powered 140 horsepower 2+2 seat trainer version in 1964 called the Cherokee Cruiser. In 1966, production of the 150 and 160 Cherokees was stopped, and the 180 Cherokee Arrow was introduced, which featured the retractable landing gear and a constant speed propeller. You can actually get Arrows with up to 200 horsepower engines. The Arrow continued until 1971 to be replaced by the Arrow 2 the next year, and then the Arrow 2 had the 5-inch fuselage stretch for more legroom in the back, and the Arrow 3 had the semi-tapered wing for greater fuel capacity, longer stabilator for those better low-speed handlings. Although production of the Cherokee 150 and 160 was stopped in 1966, they reintroduced the Cherokee 150, naming it the Cherokee Warrior in 1973. The Warrior had the Archer's stretched body and a new semi-tapered wing. So this is when they actually first introduced that semi-tapered wing. Then in 1977, Piper upgraded the Warrior to 160 horsepower and named it the Warrior 2. In 1982, Piper introduced the Warrior 3, which had an increased useful load of 900 pounds. The semi-tapered wing is somewhat debated in the benefits and drawbacks, but was introduced to improve stall characteristics and increase the wingspan. Piper then offered a turbocharged Arrow 3 with a Continental TSIO 360F engine of 200 horsepower and an optional 3-blade propeller. In 1979, they brought in the Arrow 4, sporting that distinctive T-tail. This is also when the Dakota was introduced and the Cruiser and Pathfinder were then stopped. Now all into turbocharging things, Piper offered a turbocharged 200 horsepower Dakota in 1979, but demand was low for this, so they stopped production of this one the next year. There's also a PA-28 161 Cadet, a 2-place fixed gear 160 horsepower trainer. And if you want a 6-seater version of the Piper PA, check out the Piper PA-32. This is also known as the Cherokee 6. Wow, okay, so there's a lot there and it is complicated. I'm hoping that clears things up for you and that you know more about the variation or the one that you want to get or the one that you're flying in. If any of this information is wrong, let me know in the comments. It is a bit of a mind bend to track. I've done my best and I've made a list of the various Pipers, their names and their subtleties, which helped me make this video. If you want to use it, feel free to download it. You can sort it by year, which shows the linear year of when they made the changes. At the moment, I've got it grouped up by different variations of Pipers. I've linked to that in the description below this video. So let's take a look at some of the used aircraft prices. Obviously, there's a lot of them on the used aircraft market and prices vary widely. For an older 180 Cherokee and Arrow, you're looking at between $40,000 US to $100,000 US, and for the Arrow 3s, you're looking at above $100,000 US. For the 235 version, you're looking at between $90,000 US and $160,000 US. And for a 180 Archer, you're looking at around $70,000 US. And for the Archer 2s, between $100,000 to $200,000 US. And for the Archer 3s, you're looking at between $200,000 US to $300,000 US and even more. So which is your favorite variation? And have you flown in any and want to comment on their particular handling characteristics? Please let me know in the comments because I'd like to hear that. So competitor aircraft that you might want to check out would include the Cessna 172, which is a high wing, so slightly different. But then you've got the Grumman American AA5 series and the Beechcraft Musketeers or Bonanza designs. I've also made a video on the Beechcraft Bonanza on my channel and the Cessna 172 on my channel as well, so you can check those out there. For more videos on aircraft performance, costs and their history, check out my channel Pilot Mike. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider giving a like and a sub to this channel. It would really help. And until next time, safe flying.